and you really feel like you're in got a great contact with the bike. Punch is fantastic. Welcome along, guys. Well, while I've got the RSV4 1100 factory in my possession, it only seems right that we go out, ride this bike back to back with my own GSXR-1000. Now the GSXR isn't standard, it's got a full titanium system on it, it's been custom mapped, it made about 204 brake horsepower at the back wheel. So power wise, these things are probably pretty evenly matched, but how do they stack up on the road comparing the two? Let's go find out. Well, first of all, let's start on the RSV4. Out the two bikes, the most desirable one you want to jump on is of course the new RSV4 1100 factory, and what an amazing bike this is. If you haven't seen my other videos of this, I'll put a link up. I've had this bike for 10 days from Wheels Motorcycle, so this isn't mine, this is borrowed, but I've been so thrilled to get the opportunity to ride this bike on the road. It's something completely special. It's an occasion when you ride this bike. It looks amazing. There's something about it, that little bit of extra. Oh, it's Italian, it's exotica, it is ludicrously fast. The RSV4 is a small, compact bike. I'm 6'2", 18 plus stone. I'm not really the target audience for this bike. I'm a big guy. You'd think you'd be very cramped and very uncomfortable on this, and it's absolutely not. The bars, because it is so short, you don't have to stretch forward too much to reach them. My back is almost sort of vertical, really, stacked like this. The pegs are high, fairly high, moderately high, but I don't think they're any worse than a Fireblade or an S1000R. From a comfort wise, even for a larger guy, it is actually pretty comfortable. And because the seat is very long, oh, listen to that, we'll come on to that in a minute, but because the seat is really long, you can actually move right back to enable yourself to get into the tuck still. Actually tucked like that, I'm very close to the screen. There's not a massive amount of room to tuck right down, actually. I think that's the only issue with being a bigger guy on one of these. Tuck space. Yeah, the riding position, you are definitely more comfortable on this, for a larger guy anyway. On this side, my legs are very comfortable. They're not too extreme. Yes, this has got different rear sets, so they could be slightly better than standard. The reach to the bars is not as much. You're even more upright, and there's just a bigger bike in front of you. Getting into the tuck, I can get right down behind the screen on this. I couldn't do that on the RSV4. So ergonomics, you know, that's the difference between the two bikes. If you're a bigger rider, I do think the RSV4 really suits a smaller framed person than a great big guy like me. Great big beast. A great big beast on the bike. The power and drive, this thing just smacks you in the face with the torque it's got. The pull it's got is that's the biggest thing with this bike. The thing that surprises you the most, the drive it's got from 5,000 revs is absolutely incredible. It's the best of both worlds. It's V-twin grunt, but with a bit of that straight 4 smoothness. You know, a V4 engine, I think it really is the perfect engine from a, obviously they're probably a little bit more thirsty than a straight 4 engine, but from the power delivery and the theatre of it, I think it's the best type of engine, a V4. The pull of a twin, but with the smoothness, well, almost the smoothness of a 4. On track, this must be amazing because there's so much grunt out the corners, pull out the corners, and it's just so stable and confidence inspiring. love the tank angle. Around the top of the tank there's this big lip that you could just hook your knee under, and you really feel like you're in got a great contact with the bike. The brakes on this are also incredible. Better than the GSXR brakes without a question. It's so stable, it's so easy to string some corners together. You just have to think about where you want to go, and it flows. It's very flowing and stable. Suspension, this has got nitron suspension on it, so again, not standard, but on the bumpy stuff, perhaps slightly more forgiving than the Öhlins. Definitely easier to change direction, more flighty, nowhere near as stable feeling, but fast and light feeling. Doesn't quite have that punch out the corners that you have on the RSV4, of course. That V4 punch is fantastic. So I'll say this bike isn't standard. It's probably had 4 grand worth of extras thrown at it. Oh, it's nice around there. Suspension upgrades from Nitron, the full titanium system. So it's probably not a million miles away from the cost of the RSV4 if you were to buy it all separately. So this is almost like, you know, the best the GSXR can be, whereas the RSV4 is as it comes out the crate. It still takes a little bit of muscling around these bends. Maybe similar to the Aprilia. I think the higher speed, probably the lighter wheels of the RSV4 help that direction changes, whereas these standard cast alley wheels are making the GSXR feel a bit heavier at speed. This feels lighter at lower speed, but the gyroscopic effect of those forged wheels on the Aprilia are helping it out at higher speed. The front end on this is still absolutely lovely. This is a particularly good front end on this bike, the same as the Aprilia one. Now this bike has got the full titanium Akropovich on it. It's got all of the cat in it, it's got all of the exhaust flapper valves in it. But it is just so loud. It's completely loud enough, and the beauty of it is, because it's all road legal and Euro 4, when it goes below 5,000 revs, all of the valves shut in the exhaust, and it's as quiet as anything. It turns into an absolute pussycat. It's not until you open it up that you get the volume, which is quite nice. So through towns, you're not being obnoxious, you're nice and quiet, and then when you want that power, you've got it. When you want that volume, sorry, you've got it. It's the best sounding bike money can buy. I think you'd have to go to the MotoGP grid to find something which sounds better. It's absolutely amazing. Don't get me wrong, the GSXR sounds good, but it's no V4. Turning circle, it's actually really good. I reckon that's better than the GSXR actually. Spin it around like we did the RSV4 here. Turning circle, about the same actually. Very similar. Another thing which is absolutely incredible on this bike is the electronics package. It gives you so much confidence that it's there to get you out of trouble. Fantastic ideas on this is these little buttons on the controls here, just a plus and minus either side of the left hand grip, just to increase and decrease your traction control on the fly. So a bit less dang dang dang. There's no going into the menu, bang bang, moving across, just click the buttons up down. It's fantastic, and you can also move that across onto the other options. You've got adjustable ABS, how much ABS you want, which is amazing. You know, if you're taking it on track, if you're going on the road, you can have a higher ABS setting. Go on track, you can turn it right down, or indeed turn it off if you want. You've got the cruise control for the street, which works very, very well. If you want to know all about the electronics on this, I've actually done a video on it on the 2017 model I borrowed, so I'll put a card up there when I go through all the electronics and how they all work. So have a look at that if you want to know more. But the wheelie control is adjustable on this, how much wheelie control, separate to the traction control. Splitting those two out is amazing. You can have high traction but low wheelie. You know, that's not that you would want low wheelie on this bike, because that would be ridiculous to turn the wheelie control off. But it's nice that it's adjustable. You can choose how much you want. You can isolate it from the traction control. I don't know why every bike isn't like that. They really need to take a leaf out of Aprilia's book. Wheelie control, perhaps not as sophisticated feeling as the RSV4. Both bikes have got IMUs, of course. They've got the latest electronics, but can't help but feel that the Aprilia ones are maybe slightly more advanced than what these are. On the Aprilia, it will just make you go fast without doing anything. It will make you go fast. This, you've got to consciously want to go fast, if that makes any sense. The Aprilia will just get you up to silly speed without you almost being a passenger on the bike. You know, I didn't actually want to go this fast. You look down, you're like, I don't want to go this quickly. Why am I going this fast? Whereas this, because of the way the power comes in, because it builds up, you've got to purposely want to push it up the rev range a bit more. So I think from a keeping your license, not killing yourself perspective, I think this is better. I think out and out on the stops performance, with the mods done to this, I think they're very close. It's very hard to say which one is out and out faster. Let's just do a little bit through the gears. I mean, again, it all comes down to the wheelie. Let's give it a little bit of stick in first gear here. And just the wheelie control. Despite trying to have all that power, you can leave it pinned and you can let the electronics sort itself out, which really is quite amazing. See, I think that electronic system is not quite as refined on this, and it's wheeling a bit more. Yeah, it may be an expensive bike at £21,500, but every ride is an occasion. It does make you feel very, very special every time you ride it. Even on these bumpy little roads like this, it takes a little bit of muscling around because of the weight it still feels like it's got. But it is so rewarding. Let's throw this through here like we did the Aprilia. This definitely skids around a bit more. Could be the tyres, but I can feel it bouncy. I can feel it. I can feel what's going on a bit more with the contact with the road, perhaps. That could be down to tyres. This has got the Avon 3D Extremes on, a budget tyre as far as performance tyres go. But you definitely know what's going on perhaps a little bit more than this. I'm feeling the bumps a bit more than this. The Aprilia is just riding over it going, nah, come mate, you can go quicker than this. This is saying, well, just be a little bit easy, chops. There's a bit of grit around here. Take care. I think this is probably much easier to live with on a day-to-day basis. You could commute on one of these, you could take this to work every day. You couldn't do that on the Aprilia. The Aprilia is definitely more cramped, you're definitely crunched up a bit more. This is certainly more comfortable. I didn't realise until I got off the Aprilia onto this how much more comfortable this was. I think as an everyday bike, a bike you perhaps want to do a few miles on, I think this has it. Would I own an RSV4? Would I consider purchasing one of these? Of course, this bike is £21,500. That is a huge wedge of dosh for anybody, but it is incredibly special. You know, you're not going to see many of these because they just don't sell many RSV4s. I don't know why. People would rather spend their money on Fireblades, whether it's the dealer network, this supposed issue around reliability, which really doesn't exist. In the olden days, perhaps these new Aprilias as reliable as any other bike out there, and better than some, I would say. I've never had a problem with any of the ones I've ever tested. I've got mates with Tuonos, no problems. As a package, it's so complete. The brakes, the engine, the handling, there's no weak point. And it's also pretty comfortable. I just don't understand why you don't see more RSV4s on the road. It's an incredibly special bike, which I think makes every time you take it out an occasion. I'm so pleased I've done this actually, off one bike onto the other, on the same section of road. The GSXR is more comfortable, without question. For a larger guy anyway, it's much more comfortable than the RSV4. This is easier to live with, the power delivery. You can sit back and just cruise on this without having that feeling that you've got to push it on, you've got to go fast. The Aprilia, I think, is a better package than this, It's a fantastic bike. It's just an occasion when you ride the Aprilia. This is a bit more everyday feeling, which is nothing wrong with being everyday. You know, depends what you use your bike for, but the Aprilia is without question a special machine. It's like a Ferrari. It feels like having a Ferrari in the garage. You wouldn't use it every day. You'd just take it out when you wanted that sense of theatre. And I think it's the same thing. One of these could be your only bike. It could do everything incredibly well. But the RSV4 1100 factory is like your Ferrari in the garage. It comes out when the sun's out. When you want that grin factor. Yeah, could I own one? Oh, I just don't think I could trust myself on that bike. I don't think I could trust myself on it. I do feel a little bit spoiled now. I was so happy with this bike, so pleased with this bike. But I feel a little bit, it's not quite as good as the RSV4 when you want to go for it. The sound is leaving me a bit disappointed. The power delivery is leaving me a little bit disappointed. I think that RSV4 is a hell of an act to follow. Oh, I want one.